the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. Barbados' transportation system is in for a major overhaul by the end of the year. Transport and Works Minister Michael Lashley says amendments will be made to both the Transport Authority Act and the Road Traffic Act. Lisa Lord reports.
Speaking to public service vehicle permit holders at the Commonwealth School last evening, Mr. Lashley says among the changes will be the minimum age restriction of 25 years for all PSV drivers. They will also need to have at least 4 years driving experience. Additionally, in light of recent major developments, Mr. Lashley is looking at changing the regulations governing the Barbados Licensing Authority. Referring specifically to the registering of vehicles, Mr. Lashley says before they can be put on the road, they must be brought into the licensing authority.
So that the Barbados Licensing Authority can confirm that the vehicle does in fact exist and that the vehicle matches the accompanying documentation.
The introduction of electronic metering in taxis is also something which is being given serious consideration.
Those who support the introduction of taximeters consider that this system is the fairest and most consistent method by which the taxi fare can be determined, with the added bonus of offering some transparency to the user.
Pointing to the need for a system of accountability, Mr. Lashley also wants members of the public to play their part. That's why he is considering the establishment of a hotline to clamp down on pirates.
So that members of the public who recognize that whether it is a maxi taxi, is a ZR or taxi, breaching any rules or operating outside a permit issued by the Transport Authority, that give us the information, give us the number, give us whatever information, and then we will call them in.
Mr. Lashley also hopes the amendments will help to eradicate the practice of people renting their private vehicles as hired cars. He says it's cheating the system. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Lisa, thanks. The president of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners thinks more Barbadians should be paying for private health care. Dr. Carlos Chase believes that government should now focus its attention on providing health care for the most vulnerable in society under a new health care model. He made the proposal during the plenary session of the recent QEH Health Care Financing Conference at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center.
Generally speaking, 50% of the population are unable to take care of themselves. You have 300,000, about 45,000 persons, and this is a group that the government should be concentrating on. Encourage the other 75% or so to look after themselves, teach them to fish, give them incentives and tools to do that. Because right now, you have people who go to the polyclinic because they feel they're entitled to, but they really have to. They can go and get things done privately. Those people encourage them to move out the system and get the services out in the private sector.
Dr. Chase says government can also encourage more people to opt for private health care by offering incentives.
The incentives will be tax credits for health and education policies, tools that can look after themselves, duty-free equipment in the private sector. Again, if you import an MRI machine, say $100,000, and you pay $50,000 in taxes, you're not inclined to be doing freebies for anybody, really and truly. And your costs will reflect your payment to the bank. When you input $150,000, you pay back to the bank, that's $200,000 you pay back to the bank over 5 years. So if the costs are reduced, then you can see a reduction again in the healthcare.
A glut of chicken on the market is reportedly making it hard for some local poultry farmers to sell the commodity. President of the Barbados Poultry Association, Carlisle Brathwaite, spoke about the situation over the weekend at the launch of a household agriculture project. It's the brainchild of the St. George South Constituency Council for residents of that community.
People are crying about sales. Up to today, a gentleman called me, crying, telling me, Mr. Brathwaite, I can't get my chicken sold. I said, I know. because there's a glut of chicken on the market at the present time.
Mr. Brathwaite also gave residents advice on how to get their products sold.
The supermarket is going to sell at $6 a pound and $5.99 a pound and up. You're going to be able to sell it at $4.50 a pound. And that because it's a wholesale price. And you can sell wholesale, make money, and keep your community feeling happy.
Labour Minister Dr. Esther Bayosuku was encouraged by efforts being made by constituency councils to promote entrepreneurship at the community level in light of public service retrenchments earlier this year. She too praised the Household Agriculture Project, saying it's initiatives such as these that show there are other ways to make a living.
This project, to my mind, is an engine of economic activity and wealth generation in our community. And you know, we've talked about, and you've heard it coming from the Ministry of Industry and Small Business, coming from the Ministry of Finance. You've heard that we've been saying that one of the things we want to see coming out of the financial challenges that we're having is that we see more new businesses, more entrepreneurship. As people are home, we want to see that or people who have less income or less available income to spend, that they have other opportunities to create new businesses.
We'll have more news ahead in just a moment, but first we want to hear from you on the question: do you believe changes to regulations governing public service vehicles will lead to improvements in the sector? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results for you at the end of the news.
Right from its start over 80 years ago, Goddard Enterprises made innovation and diversification its own proud tradition. Today's Goddard Enterprises Limited is one of the Caribbean's foremost and diversified multinational corporations, comprising more than 50 companies in over 20 countries. Goddard Enterprises Limited is catering, manufacturing, hospitality and service business, financial, and marketing and distribution of world-famous brands. Goddard Enterprises, the tradition of innovation and service since 1921.
I sent a text to the economic program, and then I got a call saying that I was a winner. This system is beautiful. For baths, it is excellent. I want to thank SunPower for this wonderful gift and giving back to the community. And I want to say again, thanks very much to Economics and SunPower, and I encourage everyone to watch the show. You too can be a winner.
The breast screening program of the Barbados Cancer Society, in association with CIBC First Caribbean International, presents Walk for the Cure, a 5K walk and run on Sunday, October 5th at the Garson Savannah from 4 to 6 p.m. There will also be entertainment and a kids zone. Registration for adults and children is $20, which includes a shirt. These can be collected from the Barbados Cancer Society between September 29th and October 4th. So come out on Sunday, October 5th and walk for the cure.
Opposition leader Mia Mottley says government continues to prescribe the wrong measures for an ailing economy. And she says Barbadians need to hear from the Prime Minister and his cabinet on the issues plaguing them. Ms. Mottley was speaking during a St. Philip's South Branch meeting at Rice's Pavilion last evening. She was critical of the amount of travel being undertaken by government ministers when there are many issues to be addressed at home.
And that rather than globe-trotting to achieve things that are blind to the average person, governments have to do work sometimes outside of the country. We don't deny that. But you cannot be doing work outside of the country in circumstances where what has just transpired between July and now can only be appropriately and aptly described as the summer of discontent.
Ms. Motley says she is still waiting on Prime Minister Stewart's response to her letter following her walk in July.
And I would have thought that I would have had a response. And my executive assistant is here, and she can confirm that even if it missed my eyes, it has not missed hers in the office.
Well, the life of the late former Chief Justice Sir Dennis Williams was celebrated during a special sitting of the Supreme Court. His family, members of the judiciary and legal community, along with representatives of government and the opposition, were all present to remember the man described as the greatest judge of his generation. Chief Justice Sir Marston Gibson remembers Sir Dennis as a family man, saying he can never be replaced. Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite extended thanks to the family on behalf of the government and people of Barbados for sharing Sir Dennis with the nation. He says the former Chief Justice was a man who was able to carry out his duties and still had time for his family. And former Chief Justice Sir David Simmons says Sir Dennis delivered hundreds of judgments over his 34 years, a feat he described as astonishing. A fear that women are enduring various levels of sexual harassment in the workplace as they try to hold on to their jobs in tough economic times. President of the National Organization of Women, Marilyn Rice Bowen, spoke about the situation during a forum titled Sexual Harassment, a Modern Workplace Dilemma, hosted by the Barbados Employers Confederation. She believes Barbados is falling behind by failing to enact sexual harassment legislation to protect women in the workplace, saying too many of them now have become targets.
We need to ensure that the legislation or that the bill is moved in order to protect women in the workplace and to offer them and their employers an avenue to address this unwarranted behavior. Whereas there's talk about policy, we need to have a bill. We need to have a Sexual Harassment Act.
Meanwhile, Ralph Boyce, chairman of the Men's Educational and Support Association, is concerned that sexual harassment legislation could put men at a disadvantage. And that's why he is calling for stiff penalties for women making false reports in this regard.
There should be stiff penalties to help discourage persons from making baseless accusations and then withdrawing them. So we're saying you should have a penalty of a few $1,000s with some imprisonment if you simply bring me out in the open, Ralph Boyce, you rape me, Ralph Boyce, do something. You ruin my reputation. I'm a reasonable fellow in the country. You can ruin the thing and then suddenly say, I withdraw and I'm bothering with he no more. There must be some penalties that you would think twice.
There's a concern tonight that Barbadians continue to turn a blind eye to domestic violence. The issue has been raised by consultant, forensic psychiatric specialist, broadcaster and writer Wallace Cyrus. He says that people are not looking out for each other as they ought to and are too silent when it comes to violence against women in particular.
It is not enough to be a quiet bystander, because in life, silence is acquiescence. Silence is permission. Silence is that I agree with you. So we can't be silent. We must not be silent.
Mr. Cyrus added that this type of behavior is very common in the Barbadian society.
We still live in a society where men see women as property to do as they please, up to and including disposal. So it is not uncommon in Barbados to have a man not only beat, quote, his woman, but to kill her. And the society says nothing wrong.
Well, some of the island's seniors turned out in their numbers over the weekend for a concert put on by their peers. The show, hosted by the National Assistance Board, featured veteran artists like Colin Spencer, the Mighty Griner, Pompey, the NAB Choir, and poetry readings by Dame Maisie Barker Welch. Director Sharon Wilson tells CBC News September is observed as Senior Citizens Month, and the NAB has been putting on different events to highlight seniors over 50. She says a recent seminar on Alzheimer's underlined the need for older people to do things to keep their mind active. She says activities like dancing or anything that requires older people to use their memories and requires coordination is ideal. Ms. Wilson adds that more activities are needed to highlight the achievements of seniors and raise awareness about the issues they face. We'll have regional news